So the other day, I was with my fish fam and I was just talking about how we are heading for a combo winter in Modern. Buy your shovels, get the ski pants, buy the snowmobile, because the snow is coming, because we are facing definitely a combo winter in the Modern metagame. I mean, look over here. We got Hammer Time, we got the Heliod Company deck, we've Oops All Spells, Ad Nauseam, Amulet, Belcher, Dredge, and then all of a sudden, a lone voice in my chat says, Dredge is not a combo deck. And I'm like, what? Dredge is like neck and neck with Storm for one of the single worst mechanics ever designed. I mean, whatever team made this mechanic, I hope they're banned from designing cards, and then they banned their family 4 generations deep. That's right, Grandma. I'm just letting you know, you're banned from designing Magic cards. That's the policy. You're telling me this archetype is not a combo deck, and I didn't really think this was a debate. You know, like how the Earth is round. But there wasn't only one person in my chat defending this. There was another, and then another. And all of a sudden, you know, we start having some actual discussion here. Well, if it's not a combo deck, then what kind of deck is it? Well, it's an aggro deck. Oh, really? Do you spend mana to cast your creatures and attack? Are you afraid of removal spells? What kind of aggro deck are you? You get right underneath all your opponents with an enormous board and a million lightning helix in the form of creeping chills. And then they're like, well, it's an uninteractive aggro deck. Well, if Dredge is an aggro deck, then Oops All Spells must be an aggro deck. After all, they're going to mill their entire library, hit you with a million creeping chills, and then finish you off with a bunch of Vengevines that come back from the graveyard. It's basically the same thing, but all in one shot. And they're like, well, that's what makes it a combo deck, is that because they are trying to one-shot you. It's very reasonable to assume that after a bunch of dredges and hitting your opponent with a million creeping chills, and after the prized amalgams enter the battlefield, maybe your opponent isn't lost yet, but they are effectively lost. They can't deal with the board state, their life total is too low, and they're gonna eventually lose the game. And the thing is, with the Oops deck, if they go all in and it fails, they're gonna deck themselves and they lose. So they're really all in with it. But when it comes to Dredge, they still have room to come back if they're being disrupted. If a Storm player has run out of resources, all it takes is like one more top deck, Gifts Ungiven, back in the game. Past in Flames, back in the game. And a Cathartic Reunion, putting a bunch of Dredge creatures in the graveyard and dredging a million times, back in the game. So you might ask me, well, Nikachu, what's the combo in Dredge? Well, the combo is simple. You discard Dredge cards, mill yourself, and put a bunch of free spells from your graveyard onto the battlefield. Same thing with Oops All Spells. But that wasn't enough. The aggro Dredge crowd, they were like sumo wrestlers at an all-you-can-eat sushi restaurant. They weren't going anywhere. They would not budge on this issue. So I said, fine. That's fine. I know who can settle this. Sodek. Sodek, the Dredge Master. Bring me Sodek! I want Sodek in this stream right now. Get Sodek over here. Wake him up. It's not nighttime in Poland yet. Get Sodek today. I want him here right now. Now, he didn't show up to my stream, but I tagged him on Twitter and he saw the tweet. Sodek and I, we go way back. I knew him before he even made his first top 8. He started off with Eggs. Then he beat me with Storm. Then he beat me with Ad Nauseam. Then he moved to Amulet Titan. He didn't beat me with it, but I once dreamt that he beat me with it. And even today, he's perfected Goblin Charbelcher and Oops All Spells. He is a combo player in his soul. How the hell, out of all these archetypes, he finally, the one exception is Dredge. Sodek. Is Dredge a combo deck or an aggro deck? And Sodek says, the best answer would be aggro. What the fuck? So at this point, I take a deep breath, because I'm trying to see if I can smell burnt toast. Is there something wrong with my brain here? And what the fuck is with my poll? Why is this so close? 58% on combo, 41% on aggro. This reminds me of those math problems on Facebook where half the people in the comments section have the completely dead wrong answer. And now I'm getting paranoid, like, am I one of those idiots? Am I part of the dumbass side that doesn't have a clue? In my opinion, the best answer would be aggro with combo vibes. I picked aggro. More games are about establishing early pressure and killing the opponent before they can do their stuff. But Dredge is so unique that it can switch to combo to control role. Depends on the matchup and draw. So fortunately, the debate did not end there. So we got Skura here. I like the definition, which Paulo Vito Domitorosa once used. To paraphrase, you define an archetype not by how the deck plays, but how you have to play against it. And in that vein, it's a combo deck. You don't play against Dredge as you would against aggro. You want specific cyborg cards in your hand. And also, I just think Dredge plays out very much like a combo deck. Like, for example, let's say you pull off a bunch of Dredges, you put a bunch of prized amalgams into the graveyard, but you don't find an Archamoeba, you don't find anything that can enter the battlefield, and you got no more Dredgers, and now you do nothing. You have effectively fizzled, right? And I put a Rest in Peace in play. All right, nice aggro deck you got there. Where's your aggro? What kind of aggro deck plays like 23 creatures, but how many were actually meant to attack? Now, there were a lot of other discussions that came up, like what defined a combo deck. Like, does shooting your opponent in one shot define a combo deck? In my opinion, it most definitely does not. There were combo decks like Titan Shift where you get a Primeval Titan on the battlefield and you've effectively won because you found some Valakuts, and you could probably just play some mountains and just kill your opponent to death. There's also some debate about whether a combo deck is defined by how uninteractive it is. And sure, a combo deck might look uninteractive because it could be super fast and get underneath your opponent from doing anything, but for the most part, I think the successful combo decks, they all interact on some degree on some axis. Storm brings in tons of removal spells. They bring in Abrade, Repeal, Echoing Truth. They're bringing them in to answer the cards you brought in to shut them down, like Grafdigger's Cage or Relic of Progenitus or Damping Sphere. And Dredge 2 interacts with Conflagrate and postboard, where you got like Lightning Axe, Ancient Grudge, Blast Zone, sometimes like Conflagrate. They actually have a lot of means of attacking the cards that are trying to beat them, but that's the thing. We're bringing in singular hateful cards like Rest in Peace and Leyline of the Void and Grafdigger's Cage to shut down their entire strategy, because if any of them end up on the battlefield, nice aggro deck you got there. But I'll admit that this wouldn't be the first time I was wrong. Like, should a grown adult man use baby wipes to wipe his butt? But now that I've done it, I can't go back. Though I'd rather wipe my ass with combo decks. But if Sodex says this is an aggro deck, then from this day forward, I'm calling it an aggro deck. But what do you think? Do you think Dredge is a combo deck or an aggro deck? Let me know why in the comments section below. This has been Nikachu, Merfolk Master, opening up a can of worms.